I'm Pete Hammond,
Todd McCarthy.
and this is Two Shot. And Todd, you have been going to Cannes Film Festival for half a century.
All my life, yeah.
all your
More
life.
than half my life.
And I've been going for several years, not the last 2 years, but of course, 2 years ago it was canceled altogether because of the pandemic. It's trying to claw its way back to some level of normality. So in about a week's time, we're going to have the new edition, the 75th anniversary of the Cannes Film Festival happening. We will both be there talking about all the new movies and whatever's going on in Cannes. There's a lot of excitement that we're going to see there. We're going to have Top Gun, the Maverick, is going to have its European premiere there, and they're going to do a tribute to Tom Cruise. We've got Elvis, the new movie from Baz Luhrmann and Tom Hanks. So they're bringing back a lot of star power and kind of trying to get the pizzazz going again for Cannes. Are you looking forward to this?
Looking forward to it more than last year. Last year was kind of, you had to tiptoe around to, make sure that everything was okay. And it was. They pulled it off last year. There were very few Americans, no Brits at all. I mean, it was just impossible to even get in and out of Britain to France. So I think more of the old crowd will be there. And I think the lineup and the full roster of films in all the different categories of Cannes seems to be as full-bodied as it was in the past. So I expect it to be something similar to what we're used to every May going back many, many years. So, and the lineup is, I think it's studded with, quite a few interesting directors that people want to see the latest films by. And so I'm reasonably optimistic that it'll come off well, unless some curveball hits.
Yeah, well, you hope not. I read Deadline did an interview with Terry Fremeau, who's the artistic director of Cannes, and he said an interesting thing. He sounded a little kind of nervous, a little skeptical that people still want auteurist-driven movies. Cannes has always been the home for that, and auteur directors who come year after year and always can count on Cannes and going up the steps of the Palais as where they want to be. And he's saying, I'm not so sure the audience wants to. He is he wants to see streaming movies in Cannes, but the board apparently does not of Cannes. So they're still holding back because they want a full-bodied release in France. But it seems like it's getting a little shakier there.
Well, I think Cannes will definitely have to change, but they'll do it gradually, I think. And you've got those top tier premieres and films that aren't film festival films, but Tom Cruise's film, for instance. The big stars are turning out this year, I think, to support their films. So they're at least going through all the motions that it's okay again, and that Cannes can be what it always was. Last year was a bit of an aberration. Came off, I have to hand it to them, it came off without a hitch, really. But it was a smaller crowd. I think they're really going to make a move to replant the flag, so to speak, for Cannes this year.
Yeah, and they're going to be celebrating their 75th anniversary, and they're going to have a big celebration of that. And everything that entails. They've lasted 75 years through wars, cancellations, pandemics. It's still going. Is it what it was?
I think this year will be a real indication of that. Look, every festival had to contend with the issues of the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Cannes canceled once. Venice did not. Venice has gone through it very well, and I think has really raised its own status by just soldiering through and holding the festival, and it came off pretty well. Other festivals, like Toronto, just were not live events anymore.
No.
It just was not happening. Small elite festivals like Telluride, that was able to happen in a splendid way. And so they were relatively unaffected because it's a very small population.
Right.
I think one interesting thing to see, one thing we're used to seeing in Cannes are the Russian yachts.
Oh, yeah.
And
I don't think
who's in charge? Well, they might be sitting there in the harbor. I don't know, with no one on
Well,
them.
if they are, somebody's going to grab them, apparently.
In fact, I don't know if are there any Russian films in Cannes this year?
There is a dissident Russian filmmaker that's among the films that have been invited there. They're being very careful not to punish these filmmakers here, but also to make a statement. And they're definitely bringing in Ukrainian filmmakers with 2 or 3 titles, from what I understand. So that'll be interesting to see. I remember seeing a movie called Donbass there last time I was there that was in Uncertain Regard, which really shows this region that's under attack, now in Ukraine. And it was a movie that really showed the corrupt nature of that part of the Ukraine. It was interesting.
Yeah.
But this is why Cannes is so important, though, to get those filmmakers from around the world to sort of bring us together in a United Nations of cinema and see what's going on. I mean, it's a very big
I
service.
think it is very key for Cannes, yeah, to get a wide representation from all around the world. And they have enough of the kind of the top auteurs that are always interesting there. Like George Miller is there with his new film. I have
Yeah.
no idea what it's about.
I don't know either.
I don't think anyone does really.
Yeah.
And so there are a few Cannes favorites, as you will, who were there, and a bunch of unknown quantities. There's no way to guess it ahead of time. We haven't seen these films yet. So
well, one movie that I watched on my couch that they sent to me, I've mentioned this before during Oscar season, was Drive My Car from Ryuichi Hamaguchi from last year, and I didn't know him, and I didn't know his movie. I never heard of his movie, and it was well before Cannes. They sent it to me that I could watch, and I'm looking at this movie, and I liked it quite a bit. I know you didn't, but it went on to be nominated for Best Picture Oscar and Director and Screenplay, and it won the International. It put Cannes really on the map again as a place that sets the table for international
Absolutely, because
cinema.
it's a long march, from Cannes in May all the way through to the end of the year, and it has to crest in just the right way, and they really played their hand extremely well.
Yeah.
And you have to be on the lookout for films like that. And so this is sort of the official beginning of the I suppose you could say the award season, Oscar season, because that a few films in Cannes will go on to
some stuff is definitely going to come out.
We can't guess what it is because as you Drive My Car, no one knew
who
about that.
knew. No, believe me, when I saw that movie, if you made a bet with me, I said there was no, come on, a 3-hour Japanese movie about a guy going to do a production of Uncle Vanya. I don't think so.
So we'll see what the other festivals do. I don't know if Toronto's going to come fully back.
I don't
this
know
year.
if it is either.
Telluride is already planning, and they'll be fine, I'm sure.
Yeah. They were good last year, but they, last fall, because they also were very careful on the COVID front. They made sure that everybody was tested and vaccinated before coming into that town, which is a small town, as you know. So, favorite Cannes memories for you over however many you have been to?
Well, this is sort of a personal one, but there was the night before Pulp Fiction debuted, there was a smaller screening, 200 or 300 people, but I'd say, critics, probably quite a few critics, for the very first screening ever of Pulp Fiction. And it was in a back street cinema, a big screen, it looked great. And I kind of wandered out after, just absolutely elated, and was walking down about 2 or 3 blocks from the screening. And who did I just about literally bump into but Quentin Tarantino, who I didn't know really, but we had met, in Sundance a couple of times, and we weren't friends or anything. And he grabbed me and said, "You just saw the film. What did you think? What did you think?" And I was the first outsider who he spoke with about the film, and he was so anxious to know. Fortunately, I loved it, and I was able to enthuse for about 10 or 15 minutes with him. And he was just so excited to hear the first outsider response to Pulp Fiction.
Cool.
And I have to say that was a real Cannes highlight. And where else is that going to happen? I mean, it's just an extraordinary moment. And so in recent times, that's certainly one. And probably the other great memory I had was my very first Cannes. And this really is a long time ago. And I was a kid at the time, but I weaseled my way into Cannes and in 1970. And a friend of mine, Albert Johnson, from the San Francisco Film Festival, was having dinner with William Wyler.
Oh my God!
Who was just there on vacation, and he asked me to join William Wyler. So I got to have a 4-hour dinner with William Wyler, talking about everything, all his films, and about other films, and about life, his early days in the Alsace region, and that, after all these years, remains one of my favorite Cannes memories, because in America you'd never get a chance to run into a guy like that.
Yeah.
And that is what I always think about for, particular Cannes moments, and that kind of set me on my path to keep going there.
Yeah, one of my favorite Cannes memories is the memory I never had, because Ennio Morricone, and I'm a big film music freak, was doing a concert in Cannes there. I remember people that were going, and I said, oh, I have to go to this movie. I can't go. I'll see him someday. I never did. I didn't go, and I heard it was the greatest thing ever. And isn't that weird? The one thing I remember about Cannes so much is the thing I missed, because
Yeah.
there's so much there, and you're always doing something. I do remember, they have these huge ovations at the end of films. People that just go to regular movies here would not understand this, but this is like going to the Met.
Well, first all, it's black tie. You have to
Yeah,
remember
you
that.
have to wear black
All the women
tie.
are wearing
Yeah.
gowns,
Yes.
and the paparazzi are everywhere.
Actually, it literally is black tie. I tried to wear another kind of tux tie, and they said no. And you go down to the bottom of the steps, and they'll sell you one for $15.
And I saw guys get kicked out because they weren't wearing good shoes.
Yeah,
they didn't bring
women too,
fancy,
actually, who were trying to be a little more comfortable on that.
Cannes the only place on earth that's still like
it's
that.
unbelievable. But my first big ovation at a premiere I went to there was In the Mood for Love, Wong Kar-wai's movie, and it was just so rapturously received there. It was absolutely extraordinary, and I just got swept up in it, and I just kept it going too, and everybody was applauding, and I had never really, seen that kind of thing before, and I've seen it many times in Cannes now. And another thing I remember, just to tie it into this year, was Moulin Rouge premiering there, and they had this really big ass party there. I mean, it was unbelievable, and it was really fun. A big studio going to Cannes, spending all that money to launch a movie like that is one of the memorable parties I've certainly been to in Cannes.
They do it upright. There's no doubt about that.
They do it upright. Well, we can't wait to see what they're going to do upright and wrong this year. It'll be fun. I'll see you in Cannes for our next two-shot that we do. We'll be coming from the Croisette or somewhere along there. That's in the French Riviera, and we look forward to covering that here. I'm Pete Hammond.
Todd McCarthy.
And this has been Two Shot.